Hello everyone, this is TobeTada with another video of crypto trading. Thanks for checking by and let's dive right in. So you've been maybe noticing that I've been taking a break and I've been focusing on other work, so I want to get into the trading again a little bit. So let's have a look at what Bitcoin has been doing, and I think it makes sense to have a larger perspective by looking at the movement over the last couple of years. It helps a lot if we look at that log scale. So if we turn that off, you can see it's not quite as nice because these price swings up down here were relatively large. Here it looks like they were quite small, but if we turn on the log scale, we can actually see what has been going on. And so we can see that Bitcoin has been basically moving up here and then tracing back, and then again having this bullish move, which we all know, which ended in January 2018, and then retracing back here. And I think there is a pattern here. As you can see, we're basically having a movement up here and a bear market and a bull market and a bear market. And of course, as we've talked about with the Elliott wave theory, this would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fifth movement here is basically what we're expecting to see here. And so that is definitely important to keep in mind when we're analyzing this and to know where the market is generally heading. Of course, this is an assumption, but I think a fairly good one. And let's have a look at the latest movement in a little bit more detail. So what has been going on over the last couple of months here. And you can see, of course, we had a tremendous growth here, which I'd argue is similar to the growth we'd seen in the start of the movement when Bitcoin was still only a couple of bucks, and also when we saw it go up here. And let's have a look at the pattern, and you can see if we look at these individual peaks and going into the movement went up and down again, or here we can start to see patterns here, and it's actually fairly obvious in my opinion. And the pattern is, in general, there's an upward movement and then basically going down again by about a third, you could say, something like that, roughly speaking. And this is also evident in the biggest price swings. So we had basically upward movement and then going back, or basically if you start here looking at this way, upward and downward. And about this correction here was about, as you can see, roughly a third. And you could also look at this at the basically there is the golden ratio and so on, and that probably traces back pretty well. And the argument, or the point I'm making, is that we're probably going to see this retracement here again. So we're going to see basically a correction going back down to about the price of 7,000, between 7,000 and 8,000. That would be my guess here. And so we'll probably see something similar as to here, where we saw the correction here or here, and also in the bigger scope here or here. And so the idea is that probably the price will continue to fall down here until about 7,000 or 8,000 before going back up again. Now, if we have a look at this in a little bit more detail, I'll switch to the let's say daily chart here, and we can also see what has been going on in a little bit more detail. So we basically, in this upward movement here, we basically could always say that this was basically, or characteristic was that we had these trend lines here pointing upwards, as you can see here. Basically parallel trend lines going upwards here. You could also do that for down here. But up here, there is a change, as you can see. We're basically, we can't quite make a parallel trend lines like that pointing upwards. But what we can do is make parallel trend lines going downwards. So basically have something like that. If we depends on where you want to set these trend lines here. If you want to go to the extremes or to the more general values here, I'd say it probably looks like something like this. And so you can see there is a change here. These trend lines aren't pointing upwards, these are pointing downwards. And so I think what we'll be seeing here is that the price is going to probably continue up to about 11,000, and then there's going to be a correction going back down again, and it might actually go back down to 7,000 or 8,000 until there's going to be support from this trend line, and also there is more support coming from here and here, where I doubt that the price is going to continue to go down. But this is important to keep in mind, where this breakout scenario here is, I think, not as likely, because as we've been seeing, these movements have always corrected themselves back down again to about a third. So if we take this here and this here, or better would be the golden ratio, but I'll just do it now quickly. It's about a third, which would make it about going back down here. So that's kind of the idea. And also because we have these downwards pointing trend lines, I think it is a fairly good prediction that the price is going to go down to about 7,000 or 8,000 before, of course, going back up again. And there is one more thing that makes me believe that this is going to happen, and that is because we have here in this small bear market here, sorry, with all these things going on with this bear market here, we'd normally have with Bitcoin a correction of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry that this is so messy, but this normally goes in fives here. If we look at the bigger movement, of course this is very rough, but we had a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you could say, or going back down again. This is not the best way to illustrate it, but let's see if we can do this in the smaller waves here. 1, 2, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is more not such exact science, of course, but it's something that if you've been looking at the charts for a while, this is something that you start to notice. And so I think we'll have something similar here, a 1, 2, 3, 4, and so it's very likely that we're going to see a 5, and which is supported by the other facts we've been talking about. So I think this might have been a useful insight into the midterm to long-term price movement of Bitcoin. Let me know what you think about this video, and see you next time. Bye.